洞察，所以我接下来就要来介绍我们今天的2位讲者。那因为个人其实实在是一个小白，所以我想我今天在这一段的角色比较不像是主持，而是代替各位现场观众朋友发问。那我们接下来这段 panel discussion 将会用英文来进行。Okay, I would like to introduce our 2 panelists today. 一位是虚实共鸣 LKX 的杜宇中营收长暨营运长 ，and Jack Stolarski, the CEO of NERO. I just told to the audiences that as a big model to Web3 world, so my role today is not the host. My role is kind of like to ask all the questions and to fulfill the curiosity for our audiences. So the first question, I think some people might think that, for example, like me, some people might think that it won't kill if I don't apply the Web3 technology. So, from your perspective, what is the importance and the necessity of Web3 technology? And I don't know if the Web3 technology is almighty for all brands, all corporates, and how do you think the Web3 technology can cure the pain point for corporates? I think maybe we can start from Jake.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Yeah, it's a great question, and I think a lot of people sort of have this question of like, why do I need this technology? And I think that the short answer would be yes. I think all brands should be at least exploring, otherwise they're going to be sort of left behind the innovation curve. I would say there's 2 major things that they need to focus on. One is if you're not thinking about how to accept digital assets as payment, you're leaving a lot of money on the table because, I think in this ecosystem, people tend to spend money faster in the Web3 space. So you're leaving money on the table, 1, if you're not thinking about payment rails. But 2, a little bit more of a nuanced one is in engagement channels. So this is something that EchoX works on very closely, is this idea of how could you engage more deeply with your customer? And Web3 offers this perfect rail to see customer spending habits as they're opted into it, creating sort of digital credentials that travel with you all the time. And I think if you're not thinking about these types of things, you'll be probably left behind as retail.
I think before we continue the question to Dominic, would you like to introduce NERO a little bit to the audiences to help those people get to know you more?
Sure, yeah, thank you. So NERO is a blockchain that's designed to be the most flexible and inclusive public blockchain on the planet. Our motto is the power of any. So the idea is any gas token, any token can be used as gas payment on the network. Any device can be used as a node to validate the network, and any programming language can be used to essentially write smart contracts on the network. So the idea is to build a public infrastructure that is much more available to the world than current Web3 infrastructure is.
我想，刚刚 Jake 分享的就是作为一个供电，他们其实提供一个更能够取得，然后也更稳固的一个这个基础建设，然后给所有需要使用区块链应用的人。但他提到就是说，对于我刚刚问的问题，就是是不是所有的企业都需要用到 Web3 的技术？他的答案当然是肯定的。对，我想他的理论基础跟前面其实非常多段演讲或者是座谈的时候分享的概念非常相近。就是第一个，其实它提供一个更容易让资产流动，或者是讲直白一点，就是更容易花钱管道。那让大家更轻松的、更没有技术门槛来运用这些数位资产流动。那第二个就是说， 包含了你可以更深入的跟你的客户产生关系，或者是透过链上数据的收集，你可以更了解你的客户，或者是一步一步的去跟随他们的步伐，然后去经营客户关系。我想这个在前面几个分享里面都有提到。那相同的问题，我觉得也想要问问看他们的想法。
Hey, thanks, Kai. My name is Dominic. I'm from Ecoix. My background is actually from the banking background. I started my career in Silicon Bank with cybersecurity background. Now I'm working in Ecoix, mainly driving the operation and also international market. I just want to echo with Jack, right? Absolutely, payment, the channel arrangement is key. And I think one of the very important things when we're talking with enterprises are data. So they are very concerned about data privacy, how data can communicate, between the different companies. So I think one of the very key message when we are talking to enterprise, in particular Japan, which we spent quite a lot of time in. When we're talking with enterprise, if we're talking to their senior managers or even directors, they're more concerned about their the daily operation or what's about their annual revenue. They don't really care about Web3. But when we talk about their senior executives, every one of them is that yes, Web3 is the future. Web2, we got a lot of data issue, a lot of the privacy thing we just cannot solve right. But we're just waiting for the killer app for the Web3 to move on, and we are having trials, initiatives, around to ready, for the data.
So your answer is kind of already responding to my second question, that what kind of trouble or challenges that you might face when you're dealing with the Web3 companies, especially in Japan? They don't care about Web3. They don't. Yeah. I think you can go first.
They're not. They do care, right? And so that's why in Japan we see a lot of initiatives, right? A lot of trials. Somewhere maybe in marketing, somewhere maybe having consortium between industries or even cross industries that they want to see how Web3 can solve or increase their efficiency. But I think none of them, at least as for today, are really, this is the area that we need to really full force, on the, right? They are having trials in different areas and see, what are the best bet. And I think on the same time, I think in the previous section, we also mentioned regulations. They are actually also working with the government to see how the regulation can, catch up, to pair with them, to work together.
So what you're saying is the application is more important. On marketing side, on different industries or different markets, and all the corporate wants is you to help them to fix the problem. Okay, that's the more important. But for Jake, your service is to build the public infrastructure by Web3 technology. But what if, we're trying to ask is, what if the customer don't care about what is it is Web3 technology or not? Then how are you going to deal with that? Is that the biggest challenge or trouble you're facing when you're working with the Web2 companies?
Yeah, it's another good question. I would say, I would maybe frame that a little differently. I would say that the goal of everything that I think most people in Web3 are trying to build, the goal is to not make it feel like you're necessarily using Web3. So the more things that you can build that have the qualities and the benefits of Web3, namely, and Dominic mentioned this before, like ownership, right? So like if everyone's familiar with the kind of Chris Dixon phrase, the phrase which is like read, write, and own. So like Web 1 is read, right? So it was essentially big corporations putting out news articles for people, and you could only consume it. Web 2 is read and write. So essentially the upbringing of blogs, which led to social media, which allows for people to read and write, but the Web 2 companies own the platforms and all of the data on it, right? And they sort of masquerade a little bit behind this idea of data privacy being the reason why you can't transition from these kind of Web 2 silos of data to more inclusive Web 3 rails. But I think the real killer app is essentially when you can create something that gives somebody the benefit of owning their own data without needing to feel like they had to know programming in order to like experience the monetary benefit or the maybe just a cross-platform unlock benefit, right? Saving time or saving money. I think that's really where like the industry needs to go to find that killer app.
But I would like to ask more following on your answer that do all the Web 2 companies really care the users, the clients can read and write and own the data? Do they care about that? And how, if they don't, how are you going to persuade them?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're sort of disinclined to want to move into Web3 because it's a challenge to the model, right? Like, it's to transition from this read-write to rewrite and own means that you're saying, the Facebooks have to open up all of the data ownership, the X's have to open up all of the data ownership to the community, which is means they have to find a completely new business model. But it's definitely necessary. It's just right. The previous panel, on some litigation stuff, but like there's an expression that is possession is 9/10 of the law, and so like data ownership is in an increasingly digital world is going to be like 90% of what people are focused on. This concept of laws around making sure data ownership is universal and accessible for everyone.
So business talks, money talks. When the customers or the users care more about the ownership of their own data, they will sort of forcing the platform, the corporate or the enterprises to change.
Yeah, I think it's voting with your feet, as you say.
Okay. One of the theme topics of today's conference is about how to apply the Web3 technology and in every different kind of industries or market or corporate. So this question is for Jake, that in next 3 years, where is the most likely application of public blockchain technology on a large scale in the retail industry?
Yeah, in retail, I think, so in retail specifically, I think it's going to be a few key areas. One is, I think stablecoins will continue to proliferate. It really allows for, if you've ever had to, if you've ever sent money on the digital asset rails and then gone to try to send a wire, you realize how much better and easier these systems are. I think these will continue to proliferate, especially in Japan, where there's a lot of experimentation in stable coins. But I think more on the retail innovation side, I think we'll see a lot of innovation in like the next generation of NFTs. So this is where I think EchoX is kind of set to kind of be a key player in this because the next gen will be much more focused on the utility of NFTs, things that you can do with them rather than just kind of vanity or collectibles. These things will also be very, very much tied to enterprises understanding these kind of like engagement channels. So knowing who your super users are, is going to be super important. Because right now these enterprises don't communicate with each other. If I spend $100 at Nike, the Reebok doesn't know that I did that. But if you can have these profiles travel with you and opt into these systems, more engagement channels. So this is where I think the EchoX models is going to be very important.
Thanks, Dick.
And I think it also echoes to the showcases that Daniel just showed us in his presentation, that how he worked with the popular brands and to engage with their consumers. Okay, so our following question, since Jake mentioned about how EchoX has done a great job for their clients. I think EchoX is the expert on digital transformation for especially for the traditional industry. So what kind of suggestions does EchoX have for enterprises when they are considering a transition to Web3 technology? What do they have to be aware of, to prepare for, and pay attention to?
Thanks for the question, Kyle. I think this is a very interesting question, right? In one way, we always, suggest or tell the enterprise that, hey, don't mind, don't think, right? Let's go and try it, right? Start small, right? But I just want to emphasize that don't start too small, right? We see a lot of enterprises just start like a small NFT marketing campaign, right? And then that's it, just run it for like 2 weeks or 1 month, and then not really have a traction or follow up on how you can work on the data, the results, right? I think what you should do for the enterprises, let's have a short-term projects, 3 months, 6 months, with different interim results, so that you can learn at the same time, and from different results, you can give you the direction that which area either is like customer data or exchange data with your ecosystem, which area can move on in order to learn more from the system. One other thing I think is also a good learning experience is a lot of enterprise, they got a lot of what should I say, industrial barrier or industrial know-how. Right? So when we're working with different enterprise, it's actually we are learning at the same time. But we find that it's very, very effective when that enterprise is also, while working with us, they're also working with some sort of like a consultancy firm. So that's why in Japan, we are now working with like Deloitte, Baker, some of the leading consultancy firm that they can help and translate some of the industrial know-how to us, while at the same time help us to communicate better how the Web3 technology can deploy and have much more like short-term immediate results.
But it seems for corporate, it's gonna be a very long-term investment. Like when they are trying to adopt Web3 technology, because they have to try in different area, different topic, and they also have to spend a lot of time and money on communicating or translating.
I think communicate definitely is a very very high cost, right, for enterprises. But what they should do is just find a business unit and can kickstart an initiative very easily. We are now working with enterprise, maybe some of them start in e-commerce, some of them starting in advertising, some of them starting in crossover with different business associates, right? So I think definitely they can start small, right? But I think they need to sit down either with us or some with other industry experts, define the project scope, define what their expected result, and they're much easier to start with. And actually, the investment is not really big.
Can I add one more question for you guys? That do you have any suggestions for Taiwanese companies when they're trying to do Web3 business in Japan? Do you have any suggestions about that? How about we start from Dominic?
I think that's a very good question, Pao.
And I think it's going to be a very hard question for most of the companies.
I think it's very hard for most companies. Is that before NERO, I actually worked in Japan enterprise for nearly 10 years, right? So I understand the culture. So first of all, you need to spend time, right, to build the trust. And on the same time as you need to learn, their culture, how they start the business. Let's not talk about like the country culture, right? But how they do businesses, they're very conservative. They don't want to make mistakes, don't want to embarrass themselves or their boss, right? They need to do things in a careful manner, and then they see the results. Once they see the results, they will just keep on investing. So I think this is what we learn. Maybe,
Yeah, I think that's all very true. We have a very loyal user base. And I think some of the other opportunities is that, Japan has one of the warmest Web3 regulatory environments on the planet right now. But paradoxically, doesn't have a very high standard of Web3 developers in Japan right now. And so I think that there is, for anybody who's interested, there's a lot of, demand for Web3 talent in Japan to be kind of thought leaders or engineers or, whatever it may be. I think there can be a lot of kind of crossover between Taiwanese developers or engineers and those in Japan who are needing to hire, to sort of keep up. I think that's a big opportunity. And I also think, just kind of generally speaking, kind of in theme with the conference, focusing on how you can allow blockchains to talk to AI is very much a huge opportunity right now. Like there's an Eric Voorhees quote that stays with me, which is that AI agents aren't able to open bank accounts. And so this is just going to be always universally true. So the only way AI agents in the future will be able to communicate within one another is going to be through digital currencies, and through digital asset rails, and basically infrastructure in Web3. And so as these systems become more and more integrated and dynamic and fast moving, like if my AI agent needs to interact with your AI agent and pay it for something, there's no way it's going to be using fiat. And so thinking about how to build systems that facilitate that is a huge opportunity right now.
Well, I think it's a pretty interesting idea that probably all the applications we're talking about today will happen sooner and faster and more possible on AI, and maybe not on human. Okay. So our next question is also the final question. What I was asking is about how Taiwanese company can do in the Japanese market, but now I would like to ask is about based on your experiences in the Japanese market, what can we learn from your experiences for the development of the Web3 industry in Taiwan? Maybe we can start from Jake.
Yeah, sure. I think the lessons that we've learned in Japan are kind of universal ones, so I think they apply much broader than just Japan or Taiwan. And it's really in sort of simplifying onboarding and being as inclusive as possible. There's a pretty crazy stat that is a comparison of Web3 developers to the general Web2 developers. And there's something like 20 to 25,000 Web3 developers on the planet. 25,000. There's about 25 million developers broadly speaking. So there's a factor of 1,000 difference between Web 2 and Web 3 developers. And thinking about this from our perspective at NERO is what has informed us to make some of our decisions that are allowing any coding language to be integrated into the chain. So essentially writing smart contracts with whatever language you prefer and creating those sort of listeners and translators. And furthermore, one of the most kind of user-facing things that we've thought about in our experience in Japan is what we've developed is called a paymaster. And this paymaster essentially allows for any type of token or any kind of currency to be used to sort of power transaction fees. So imagine swiping a Visa or a MasterCard somewhere, and you're actually interacting with some Web3 app on the back end that allows something to be facilitated in real life. You never really needed to know that you were on it. Like in Ethereum, you have to, in the same experience, go and find a way to buy Ethereum if you've never done that before. Figure out a way to create a wallet. All of this experience in the future will just be abstracted away. And this is what we've designed with NERO and kind of seeing how people interact and operate with blockchains in Japan really informed us. And so abstract away all of the Web3-ness, make it just feel like a Web2 experience, and make it as flexible and inclusive as possible from both the payment side and the programming side and the device side.
Any plans of NERO to expand in Taiwan?
Yeah, I mean, we have some folks here, but not like at NHQ. But yes, I mean, we are always hiring, so happy to talk to anybody who's interested in engineering work. So very excited. We've been here for a few years in terms of some photos. Yeah.
So how about you, Dominic? EchoX has both many experiences in Taiwan and Japan. So what can we learn from it?
I think I have two very different areas to share with the floor. I think first of them is the government regulations. I think because of the Japan regulation on Web3, as Jack has stated, Japan is one of the most mature market on the regulation, so they're pushing the industry to understand that this is the government direction, and we have taxation and all the things well in place, then they can go forward. So I think, but I'm very happy that I think in Taiwan the last 6 months I see the government is actually much more proactive and working closer and closer with the industry, and I think this is definitely a very positive message, right? Because what we learned from Japan, Singapore, or Hong Kong, we can now apply to Taiwan market as well. So the second thing which we are actually also very, very interested is, as we said, AI is definitely one of the hottest topics in the world and in Taiwan. I think one of the areas we should focus is how we can ensure, in Taiwan we have, I think, one of the most major hardware, AI hardware manufacturing in the world. But besides hardware, how about software? How we can ensure the data put in that engine are legitimate. The enterprise got the ownership, right? Previously, OpenAI got already an issue that, where they got the data to change their Sora, right? So I think moving forward, this will be a more critical issue, right? Enterprise want to have their own AI engine, want to have their own privacy, AI data. Hey, where they come from? How that we can have a Web3 blockchain infrastructure to ensure things are legitimate, well controlled, with ownership well stated. I think this is also one area that we are very interested in.
我想在谈到日本的时候，除了讲到日币是贬值之外，然后第二个近期热门的话题不外乎就是台日的经济、台日的商业、台日的生活，好像彼此之间的关联都越来越靠近了。那除了这个 我们一直在鼓励新创公司可能有机会可以往日本市场发展之外，也许这个 Web3 企业或者是 Web3 的公司在跟日本交流上面，也可以看到非常多的机会跟这个值得把握的地方。所以今天非常感谢我们这个座谈的2位语谈员为我们带来如此精彩的分享。Thank you for your insightful opinions and also making us a perfect ending of our Web3 conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
好，再次感谢 Jake from NERO， 还有 Dominic from NERO， 谢谢。